It's the 24th of October, 2017. The weather's officially changed. I need a hoodie all the time now. So my group didn't meet this week, which meant the other group started their new campaign because they beat up Strahd last time, so they got to start on theirs. So I am, by order of the DM, getting to play this rogue, this pale-skinned, white, silvery-haired rogue. Let's just say I've got my own secrets, but yeah, no one's gonna find out about that until the time comes. One person might find out, but that would be because they're married to the DM. But otherwise, I don't think anyone's gonna find out about it until the time comes. But it was a nice little exercise, because I didn't know this was happening tonight. I didn't find out my group wasn't meeting until I actually arrived, which meant I had to create a character on the fly, something that I really haven't done before. It meant that I had to pull up the character stats, do all that stuff. Sure, I mean, that's the mechanics of it, and I got it done. So, iPod's battery died on me and lost a large chunk of what I was telling you guys, and it's 9:13, so I really freaking need to get to bed. So, quick summary, carrying on from where I was, yeah, so, I told you guys that I needed to come up with a character on the fly, but that also meant that I had to come up with things like, how does that character act, things like that. Using the rogue, how he looked, all that stuff. I was able to kind of come up with one. Eventually, I came across this voice, this sort of soft-spoken, almost emotionless voice that sort of seems calm, but at the same time, if it was doing something threatening to you, it'd probably creep you out just a bit. It's almost borderline that voice that audiobook narrators use when they're a guy and they have to do a female voice. A lot of them use that same voice. But for some reason, this just fits for the character I'm doing. And like I said, that character's got some other reasons why I picked that voice as well. So, as the party gets to know this NPC played by a PC, then they'll get to learn why I'm the way I am. But until then, you know, I am merely the humble servant of the DM, as I always am. So, this character, the way that he handed it to me, is how I am now sort of making it my own a little bit and working with it. So, should be fun for the times when I get to join their party and actually play as the character. I don't know if he's going to run it in my absence or not. That's something I haven't discussed with him yet, but we'll see. Anyway, shut up, Sam. Time for bed. So, I'm gonna do that. Time for me to go to bed. So, good night, everybody. It's the 26th of October, 2017. For the first time in a while, I am allowed, at least for this lunch break, to use my phone. Why I just called my iPod a phone, no godly idea. But anyway, we are doing a tailgate party today, that's why I'm wearing my sports shirt. And after we deal with the food, then I will show you the decorating efforts that the group has made, because they've outdone themselves this time, let's put it this way. When you get Tennessee and Kentucky fans against each other, oh yeah, we have some fun around here. And it never goes overboard, so yeah, you'll get to see that in a bit. it's Halloween at the factory. I don't know why we're doing it the day before, but I don't question these things. So yeah, about to be the costume contest. I might get you some pictures, I might not. I haven't decided that one yet. Just capping off the story before I go to bed, because I didn't have much time at work afterwards to cap it off, so I'm having to do it here at home. It was fantastic. All of those costumes, they really did a good job this year. One of these days I'll do a costume, but my main problem is that work is more of the place where you make the generic costume that's sort of an idea that most people are going to get, rather than playing a pop culture character. And you guys know me. I do pop culture characters mostly, which really doesn't gel with that environment. First year there, I was an old-fashioned newsy reporter, and that really got a lot of... It showed people that I did have the ability to be out there. I just am quiet at work because I'm focusing on my job. Because not everyone that I work with is aware of what I do when I'm not at work, how not quiet I am and everything, so for some of them it kind of comes as a shock when they find out. It's almost like I'm living a double life, but I'm not trying to hide it whatsoever. They just haven't dug enough. Someday, I do have some ideas in the future that I think would still work for work and are well enough aware pop culture icons to where you could still get away with it there and be perfectly fine. So it's not the last my workplace has ever seen of me being dressed up that one time. It's just that, yeah, when you know that 90% of the group isn't going to know what you are because they're just not into that specific stuff, then you don't want to bring that awkward on anyone, right? So, yeah, that's why I usually don't do it. That, and I could come up with 2 costumes, I suppose, but it seems frustrating and money consuming to come up with 2 of them when I really work hard on them, and since I don't halfway anything, it means that I would have to do the level of doing that I do for both of them. So yeah, it'd be ridiculous at some point. Anyway, I need to get to bed because honestly, that right there. That's why I need to get to bed. This cold weather is doing things to me. I guess in another Snap story, I will tell you guys what winter weather proceeds to do to me and what I kind of have to deal with. Or that could be a Samuel's Thoughts. Might be the Samuel's Thoughts next month. Anyway, regardless, it'll happen at some point. Until then, good night, everybody. So I couldn't have spent a better Halloween than doing it, well, with my D&D buds. So, interesting stuff happened tonight. As usual, Let me give you a little peek. So, here's how this worked. We were inside that warehouse. We got everything in. This was like 2 weeks ago. My character's throat had been mutilated to where I wasn't able to talk anymore. Our cleric went over to him and tried to heal him. Suddenly, her mind went blank. She didn't even remember casting a spell. And now my character has a third eye on the side of his neck that he can totally see out of. It's just going to be something he's going to have to adjust to. I'll explain why that happened later, by the way, because we figured it out. Meanwhile, we got a look around the place. Turned out that there were some more creatures inside of the place, so we cleared those out. But the same cleric took quite a bit of damage. But luckily we were inside of a warehouse, so we found the logs for the place and pretty much started raiding it since their last mining operation was 5 years ago anyway. This place is abandoned, except for a bunch of monsters. So, as a result, might as well loot the place. So what we ended up dealing with was we found some healing potions, poured one down her throat, and then she grew these fingernails, extraordinarily long ones. If she doesn't have a claw weapon now, I'll be surprised. But then, that's when my character with his arcane studies came into play. The area has wild magic in the air. That means that pretty much anything arcane that happens, including the magic embedded in those potions, the healing spell she did on my neck, all of that stuff is going to behave erratically. Out of character, it means that there's a table, the DM rolls, and whatever happens on the table happens in the game. But in character, it means that just, for lack of better terms, the arcane energies in the air are a bit off. So if you try to do something magic in the area, you're going to pull it off, but the results afterwards might be a bit fascinating. Some characters in D&D actually have wild magic flowing through them, but in this case, it was an area with wild magic flowing through it, which is a concept I'd never thought of. It's obvious in hindsight, but first time I've run into it. So now a massive entity, a magical entity that seems to be energy-based, has come out of the mines and seems to be sending all of the other creatures in the area towards us. It's only a matter of time. We're about to become a base under siege. So again, this place is a warehouse. Let's see what we can come up with. That's as far as we got. So next week, we will be raiding the place, which I'm hoping with mining equipment, there might be a nice amount of black powder, both to bring my stores back up, but also use it for some traps, maybe? But we'll just have to see. But I need to go to bed, so until tomorrow, all I've got to say is good night, everybody. Oh, and I'm getting back on the Snapchat wagon for a bit, or hopefully anyway. Time tomorrow, that may be when I do that thing about or no. I still can't decide whether that's going to be a Samuel Slots or not. Anyway, you guys will see. You'll see it pan out regardless. I'm just going to say good night, and that'll take care of it. It's the 3rd of November, 2017, and I'm in town because I've got some things to do. But it's also, well, it's a busy day. I'm downtown so I can pick up my prescription, and then after that, Dad has to renew his tags and his license, but they're doing that while I'm doing this. We're sort of splitting up the road. Mom's getting the tags, Dad's getting the license, and I'm getting my prescription. But after that, I have to go up to my neurologist because I have an appointment this morning. And then once I get back home, I'm headed to Cumberland Falls, to the DuPont Lodge, because it is the first weekend of November, which means, inevitably, the Magic Convention is on this year. So it's the one I go to every year at the Falls, and I'm always excited for that. And, of course, this year is no exception. So now I'm home. Doctor's appointment went pretty well. Only problem is that I gained a couple of pounds, again, have to watch that medication. And my amino acids are a bit up, which is kind of helping that situation. So he did put me on a dietary supplement just to deal with the effects of what the medication does to me. We'll see how that works out. And he doesn't want to see me till May. Now, time for the Magic Convention, which means I've been meaning to switch the vest out to the winter vest anyway, so I'm going to do that real quick, because this thing's kind of grungy anyway, and honestly, in a group of my peers, not that I really have a huge opinion of, oh, gotta look good, that sort of thing, but at the same time, I'll be networking a bit here, so gotta look good. I'm heading out. As usual with most Magic conventions, I can't really show you much of what's going on for the obvious secrecy clause, but as it stands, I can at least show you areas and stuff, and of course we've walked through. Take two with the door being openable. Okay, there we go. But yeah, I'll be able to show you the area and stuff like that. I might show you little clips from certain things like the shows and stuff like that, but I won't be able to give you insight on the lectures and things like that. I might have time to comment on them and tell you guys how it's going, but otherwise you got that secrecy. And unlike most people who think it's just the frustrating thing, I did actually sign a physical piece of paper for that, so it's not just me going honor bound on that. I literally have a contract signed. So anyone that gets annoyed at the whole magicians and their secrets, I signed a contract, so hey, just saying. So, fantastic first night of the con. Did some networking. Obviously ran the booth, as I always do every year. Tomorrow's the really big day. Friday always is just sort of a networking day and stuff like that. I don't know if I said that earlier or not. Might have. Sorry if I repeated myself. But we had a show today. It was fantastic. And then we had a lecture from Brent Braun. I love his style of lecturing because he does a very specific thing. You just hear the man wax poetic about magic and the methods and stuff like that, and I don't think I've ever heard anyone else talk about magic the way that he does. And one word that I can use to describe his style, and it's not an insult. Normally you would use this word as an insult, but he's blunt about it. And what I mean is he is not afraid to say something that's just flat out freaking truth that maybe, magicians don't like thinking about or something like that. It's like, what? Oh, without giving away any secrets, how can I quote him on something? Pretty much he flat out said at one point, hey, if you're afraid of this, why are you even in magic? A specific thing happening. But at the same time, he's just got this great philosophy about magic principles and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely an awesome guy. So, yeah. It's the 4th of November, 2017. Second and last day of the convention, because it's always just a day and a half, I suppose you'd call it. And it also just occurred to me, so I just checked. I indeed yesterday used a 10 instead of an 11. Gotta switch over those numbers when the month rolls around. Anyway. First day of the year that I'm having to deal with this fog over. Luckily I can already see through it and my car warms up rather quickly, so I'll be able to deal with it, but still, just one of those milestones when weather really changes. Plus, of course, winter vest with the sleeves on, so yeah. So fantastic day today. I pitched something for the convention that might happen next year. It was too late this year, and it's not my timing. It was more along the lines of things, the thing I pitched would have to be lined up. So given that I've kind of proven I'm not some just random young punk hanging around, I felt confident enough actually pitching something for the convention. But like I said, that's next year. This year, on the other hand, it's been fantastic. This morning we had a performance from former Samcast interviewee, because I interviewed him all the way back in the day. He's one of the interviews I cut my teeth on, to be honest. Um, Sir Patrick. He just goes by Sir Patrick. Look him up. He's fantastic. He's a silent performer. He doesn't use words. He specifically does that. He needed a reel of sort of his performance so he could put it on promotional things and stuff like that. So we were the audience for that, and it was awesome. I always love seeing his performance style. It's fantastic. I always rant about it, so I'm going to attempt not to this time and just say awesome. Later on in the day, afterwards, we had a mentalism lecture, which was really a lecture more about mentalism, but also performance of magic and mentalism, both the differences between the two, but also attitudes that you kind of need to take regardless of if you're doing magic or mentalism. Fantastic and fascinating stuff. Loved hearing some of the things that were said in that lecture. Things that, quite frankly, needed to be said. You know, it was a lot like the Brent Braun lecture last night. Fantastic stuff. After that, let's see what was next. We had a close-up magic show. That was nice. Then we had our featured speaker, Scott Alexander. And he did a fantastic lecture that gave us tricks of all sorts for different performing things. And then we had a long stretch of time, which is always the time that's interesting. A long stretch of time in which there was lunch, or rather dinner, to be had. Sorry, not lunch. After that, I did just some normal networking, talking to people, doing stuff like that. It was fantastic. I even have two most likely going to happen. I never like saying names, of course, but two most likely going to happen people for What's Your Passion. So, awesome stuff. And now it's over. Another unconventional convention has indeed wrapped up. It's time for me to drive myself home now. I always do my goodbye tour, as I jokingly call it, where I go around to everyone that I want to say goodbye to and then leave. And it's always bittersweet, but at the same time, it's fantastic. I even got a compliment from one of the mentalists, Lee Earl. He's a fantastic individual. He's got the most wicked sense of humor. He was one of the lecturers I was telling you about. He told me I had a good laugh, which, you know, that really does something for me. It's like, oh, I gave another performer energy. Yes! That's, as much as I appreciate that when I'm on stage, to be able to give another performer that themselves, oh yeah, I liked doing that for someone. Now, let's stop ranting in a car and get home, shall we? I can wrap this stuff up when I get home. PJs. Bed. Oh, yes. Oh, I enjoyed the convention, but good lord, is it time for bed. So, good night, everybody. See you later.